Welcome to FemLead, the podcast on female leadership and role models. Prepare to feel inspired and better equipped to navigate your career path. I am Alexandra Chabotaru, your host, and together with my guests, we will tackle a new field of work in each episode. The aim of this podcast is to deep dive into career perspectives and strategies to navigate your desired path for success. Enjoy! Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of FemLead. Today we discuss the creative industry's career path. We are today joined by an amazing role model, a copywriter soul in an architect suit, as she calls herself. She started her ad career in Bucharest, Romania, where she quickly grew from junior to senior positions. During her career, she kept on winning awards to make her parents less pissed off about her dropping architecture. Among the awards you will find is Cannes Lions, Eurobest, One Show, Golden Drum, and titles like Copywriter of the Year, Top 6 Creative to Watch, and Pitch 100 Superwoman. She's currently working in Publicis Milan as a digital creative director. Please welcome Sandra Bold today for our interview. Welcome, Sandra. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here and honored. So, yeah, the day is going pretty well so far.
We were just chatting that the pandemic life is quite crazy and you're tuning in from a warmer setup and that you had a day full of meetings and more to come. So I really appreciate taking this, let's call it a break in between, even though it's not really a break, just to chat with me for a few minutes here on your career path. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. I'm squeezing everything I got into the day.
Perfect. Okay, but let's then get right into it, because the reason why we are here today is to discuss the creative industry career path. Because working in the ad world, working in an agency, a digital agency, creative agencies, those are really popular job roles. And generally, we see creatives as this team that will come in and change everything and make everything look better and be able to promote the message that the companies are trying really to showcase. But I want to ask you, what does it actually mean to work in the creative industry? What do you do day to day?
Well, you have no life outside the creative industry. Basically, you sign your personal life away to the industry, and then you say, okay, so I'm just gonna do that from now on. What does it mean? It means that you make sure that the brands that you work with or have a proper representation in the world, and they actually have the tools to communicate what they are trying to communicate, and you make sure to simplify the language and make it fun for everybody to see and understand what they want to say.
Mm-hmm.
In deeper levels, it means that you take briefs from the client, and then you spend a lot of time working on them and trying to see how you can put the message out there. So you start from strategy, and the strategy identifies target audience, identifies pillars of communications, identifies relevancy of message. And then that turns into an internal brief where creative department is briefed. And then we are trying to crack the message, which comes into a headline or a tagline, and the creative around it, which can be digital, can be TVC, can be radio, can be an activation in the real world, or it can be all of them. And that is dependent on budget, is dependent on braveness or stability or target audience or any of the above mentioned in the strategy department.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said that you have no life, and I would like to take that quote and dig a bit deeper, because I think that it's a very important discussion to have about well-being and work. And, I live in Denmark, and here well-being obviously depends on the industry, but it's really a promoted topic at work. And you are encouraged to actually take responsibility for it and never be in that situation where you cannot say no to, extra work and everything. Obviously, depending on the industry and the project, sometimes it's important to go the extra mile, but it's very seldom that this will be your daily life. And when you said you sign up on that, I want to ask, how do you then take care of yourself? And what should people know that are interested in joining this industry about, okay, what does it actually mean to work daily, with briefs, with deadlines, with managing a lot of stakeholders? How do you manage it all?
I don't know. The thing is, why I said that you sign up for it, it's because you're creative. You're not doing a 9-to-5 job, which means that you want to do the best and you want to deliver the best. And many times that best means that you're not satisfied with an outcome, and then you revisit it, and then you try harder, and then you try to infuse it with more creativity or new ideas, or find new ways of expressing a solution. And that happens often because this industry is also very full of comparisons. So you see other agencies, other works with similar clients, like you have, I don't know, Nike and Adidas, or different beverages, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and you take a look at the neighbor and see what they do. And then you say, but I can do better, or I can do way better. Being so filled with comparison and being so filled with competition between other creatives, you just want to do better and better and better. So then it's not only the job that requires from the creatives to be better and to work more, but it's the creatives themselves that want to do better and be more into, I don't know, the generic, the top best creatives out there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That puts a lot of pressure internally from your own drive that makes you work that extra 500 miles, and that's on top of the 500 projects that you have to handle and meet the deadlines and so on. So yeah, it's kind of a mix. And then just to answer how do you take care of your well-being, I don't know, because a lot of energy and a lot of well-being comes from being happy with what you deliver and being happy about your work. I experienced it myself. When you're not happy about what you produce and what you put out there, even if you have a lot of free time to do a lot of hobbies, you're not happy in general, because your happiness is dependent on the output of your work. So I don't know. It's a very complicated question with a very complicated answer. And people who are really driven to do the best work will have a hard time finding the perfect solution to it. It just changes all the time.
Well, I'm happy you've mentioned it, because I think that honestly, maybe 90% of everybody I've interviewed so far, they talked about, happiness as being a personal decision, and not in these words, but in the words of like, you decide, what drives you and what makes you happy. And, linking that to work, it's something that actually fewer people started sharing with me. And the reason for that, it's also because this last year kind of shared a shift in not being represented by a workplace or work function, but rather being represented as yourself, and then moving into seeing that as a temporary role. But in this case, I think it's very important to know that there are industries where you're so driven and also inspired by the work that you can actually create together with the team that will really impact the brand. So it's super interesting to hear from you that this is actually, right now in your career, this is really what drives you and what makes you happy, when you see that the briefs delivered and the quality of that work is really top of top, and this is also why you've been winning so many awards, and you've been really invited to so many events to represent the industry. So really congratulations on that, because I think you have a very long list. If you go to Sandra's website, she has a very long list of accolades, and that's really fantastic to see. I do want to just deep dive a bit on that, because this year you've had a honestly great honor sent to you by just being, of course, a part of Cannes Lion jury. And I've seen that on social media, and I was really impressed, because I remember back in the day when I was following your path, that you really started applying to, be winning awards. Then you started winning them, and now you are the one that is part of the jury. Can you tell us a bit about what does Cannes Lion mean, and how do you get there? How was the path to actually becoming a jury member?
It's so exciting to talk about this. So what Cannes Lion is the most representative festival in advertising. It's basically, it started from Cannes Film Festival, and people, when were between the films, they had commercials, of course, in Cannes Film Festival back in the day. And at some point, people were competing to do good commercials, because once you see the best films, you want to see the best commercials, not to look at a commercial and say, what is this shit eating my time right now between two amazing films? And after doing amazing commercials for the breaks between the films, somebody just thought, why don't we do an award show also for the commercials in between the films, because they're so good. So this is how Cannes Lion started, as another festival to the film festival. And it celebrated creativity in the best form back then, which was film or TV ads. And then it started with print, and then it just went on, and now it celebrates all types of creativity. When I started in the industry, all I heard was Cannes Lion, Cannes Lion. Everybody wants to win a Cannes Lion. It's the badge of honor of creativity, and then it opens a lot of doors. So my goal was clearly to start winning Cannes Lion and prove to myself and to everybody around me that the creative work I'm doing is at that level. After being lucky enough to be able to win it, because it's hard, it depends on the conditions and the work and the clients and everything. So I've been lucky enough to have work that participates and wins. Then they start, I think, noticing you once you win once or twice or 3 times. And then I think every country has their own rules of how they promote people who should be in the jury. Because I'm from Italy, I work in Italy right now. It's the local show ADC that pushed me as a jury member. It said, like, we have these people, they made a list, and then Cannes Lion picks from that list. So I don't know in other countries how it works. And that's because I won also in 2019. So that they picked it from there.
Wow, that's fantastic. Congratulations. That's really an amazing achievement to now represent the industry and look at all of the other creatives' work and really, try to give them good advice and decide who's the best in the coming years. That's really fantastic. Congrats. I want to move into the field of advertising, because let's talk a bit about the fact that advertisement has changed, and like you said, even the Cannes Lion Festival started from being the film festival, and then spinning off with advertising as well. I want to ask, how do you think the field of advertising is evolving? Can you give us like a quick case study from where it started for you to where it's going? What do you think it's what trends are coming in?
So if the industry was following a line or a few threads of lines before, right now, exactly as you said, there's so many things happening in the same time that it's kind of hard to say it's going one way or the other. I think right now it's more pulsating, like a nucleus, and it just goes like, it's like the universe expanding. So I cannot say it's this or the other. What I do know is that when you have a clear brand, then the brand book and the brand DNA kind of dictate on how you can approach everything that happens around you, because it's like a tornado of trends and a tornado of things that spin around. And if your identity is not clear, and if your DNA and what you stand for and how you want to talk with your audience is not clear, then you can just lean onto trends and lose any kind of consistency. So what I can say is super important as a client, as a brand, as your connection with the agency, to have that settled. And then everything that's a trend can come in and say, yeah, we can approach this, or we can tackle this, or we can talk in this direction this way. And then everything is more clear, not that chaotic. Of course, TikTok's huge influence. It influences how people talk, how people pay attention to things. Also, the 15 seconds from stories influences the attention span of everybody. The way you scroll, the way you scroll after 2 seconds because you don't want to pay attention more to an ad. So that influences how Facebook and Instagram advises you to put your product in the first seconds, because people will scroll over it. So there's a lot of trends, and I can talk for them about them for hours. But what I can say is people will always be entertained. So we still watch movies on Netflix. We still like to go to the cinema when the cinemas are open. We still look at long form content, as long as it's good, as long as it's entertaining, as long as it brings some kind of value. So I wouldn't be scared of trends. I wouldn't be scared of anything, and just try to be a good storyteller and entertain people and make them laugh or make them feel something. And then that's okay. So any kind of brand needs to do that. Just bring some value and some emotion into people's life while telling a story. And the way you say it, then that's trends.
Thanks for that. Yeah, super interesting. And of course, you have been doing this for years. So you've been doing so many different campaigns that you've also really dealt with different, messages to evoke certain emotions. And I think that's also relevant to really pinpoint that emotions are part of the creative setup, because you need to sparkle emotions in your audience and make them really feel connected with your brand. Do you think that there's some essential points to consider about relationship management, meaning how to communicate with clients, or something that you learned in the last years that can really give advice to those that deal with different clients and different brands in their work?
I think what's the most important takeout I have is that once you're very confident and sure about what you're putting on the table, then the client feels confident and trusts you, and then is more easygoing with the whole project. If you're not that confident, if you are not believing in it yourself, then everything is way more shaky and harder to control. So I wouldn't go into much detail about it. I think with full honesty, if you are in love with your idea, in the case of a creative, or in love with your project, or in love with what you're doing, and then have full confidence in it, and you just go and talk from your heart and present it enthusiastically, then everything will be way smoother than any other way.
Super. Thanks a lot for covering that. Super interesting to also focus on, being confident in your shoes. How did you build confidence in your shoes as you progressed in your career?
It's a cliche, but it's fake it till you make it. I mean, I would just repeat the things I had to say 5 million times before the meeting, and trying to keep a fil rouge of the conversation in my mind, and just kind of sometimes even learning it by heart, just because I loved it so much and I didn't want emotions interrupting my flow. And just going with it and going with it and going with it over and over, until I realized that the people I'm talking to are people just like me, and the they want to have a normal conversation, and they just need to understand some stuff that I'm saying. And it doesn't matter that I use corporate words or, I don't know, cheeky words. The message needs to come through, and then you just feel more relaxed, time passing. I've been also lucky to have wonderful clients, so it wasn't a hard job.
Fantastic. Great. And what do you see as tips for those who want to enter the creative industry? Like looking back now, what would you give as tips for those that now want to step into the industry?
They really need to love creativity in general, and advertising in particular, and they should know about everything about advertising. They should know everything about advertising, all the ads that have been made, all the big brands, the history of advertising in terms of work put out there, not the theory of it necessarily, but just they need to know all the ads and everything. And once they do know that, they already have kind of a creative mindset of their own. And then they have to be very willing to work a lot for getting the job, for getting the project, for getting upgraded, and for everything. Because it's not an easy job. It's a hard job that puts you down many, many times again, because when you're a creative, every idea you have is like a baby, and then you have 500 babies and somebody kills 499 babies of yours. So that's really hard to take at the beginning, but then you need to get used to it. So resilience, I think, enthusiasm, and knowledge should be the three key points.
How do you measure the success of your work, though? How do you look at your work outside, let's say, awards?
I'm just happy if people are happy when seeing something I do. So if they're enthusiastic and they talk about it and they like it genuinely, that's when what makes me happy. The awards, of course, help, but I'm the most excited when people are excited about something I've done. That's the reason I'm in this industry, is to entertain, or as I said before, just evoke some emotions. So when people write to me that they saw something and is it mine because they love it, that's for me the best thing out there.
And is there any, like, for example, if you work in the industry and you work with different brands, is there any sort of formal setup where you need to have presentations about numbers so people know that, listen, this is actually also the part, is not just the creative and presenting the ad and trying to explain, this is what we're trying to evoke here. What do you think? Is there any more number side that people should know about?
The number side is not my side, but of course, this is how we start the presentations. We don't start with budget, we end with budget, but we start with numbers in terms of data and insights and analysis and all the strategy part we were talking before. You start by overlooking at the market, identifying key points, identifying occasions, then matching them with the brief or with the product, and then filtering down from there some kind of strategic approach where we say, this, I don't know, let's say I work a lot with Heineken. So we say, this is what we identified as an occasion for drinking Heineken, where people are not drinking Heineken usually, or are not drinking beer usually, or are not drinking alcohol in general. So we just look at a lot of at those numbers. And then as we go through the creative, we then at the end make a sum of all the numbers above in terms of budget. So that would cost around this and this and this, and this is how we're going to manage it. So of course there's a big, big, big part, which is numbers behind every creative.
Okay, I want to go into the topic of career path with who is Sandra Bold. So, personally, first of all, your name is iconic. I really like the fact that your last name is Bold, and I think it showcases also your personality. I need to have that on the record. And you've been really, I follow you for many years. We know each other personally, and I've seen your trajectory from being hired in your first ad agency back in Bucharest to now moving countries. You've been living in London and now you're living in Milan as the creative director. And I want to ask you, what would you say are some key points of your career path? Like, for example, let's start with the fact that you've started, you've actually finished architecture as a bachelor, and then you started your master's in architecture, and then you left that career path. Why did you do that, and what did you think? It's exciting about ads at the time. What pushed you towards this field?
I always loved advertising since I was growing up. Funny enough, when I started my ad career, my mom said, you always wanted to do ads. Like, you were telling me when you were 5 that you want to do advertising, things I don't remember, but apparently I did so. So I was fascinated by them because they were short pieces of content that made you laugh or cry or get scared, but so fast. It was the best thing for me. And then I did architecture and a bit of art. I started working in architecture and I was just clicking on ads all the time and looking at ads. And all I was thinking was like, man, I wish I've done this. Man, I wish I've done this or that or that. And at some point I stopped and I was like, now is the time to change it and go do that. Like, I'm 20 something. I can really change my career path without regretting this long architecture career of 8 months or whatever that is. And I can really try. And I started applying like a mad person at all the ad agencies for an internal position. And only after I got it, I announced to my parents that I'm not doing architecture anymore, sorry. So that was the main point, how it started. And then it was a rocky road to actually get hired because it doesn't take just one internship to get hired. So I had several. And after that, once I got hired, I was doing super small things. Like when you think about doing ads, you think you're gonna get the next Heineken Guinness ad, and then you're just gonna do that. But no, it's not like this. You start sometimes just by doing a shelf talker. For those of you who don't know what a shelf talker is, the shelf talker, when you go to pick mustard from the shelf, there's a thing that hangs from there and says, buy this mustard, not the other one. And I was doing that at the beginning. So, yeah. And after that, it took a while until I got to do my first real ads and my first real campaigns. And I had to change a few agencies and prove myself several times until I got to do actual good work, like award-winning work. And my first award-winning work was in Bucharest, in McCann, which is a great agency that pushed me up a lot. I stayed there for 4.5, almost 5 years, and then moved to London, as you said. London was a great experience, especially from life point of view and life in advertising point of view, to compare industries in different countries. And then I moved from there to Milan, where again I encountered different clients, different way of working, different everything. I started working on global clients, doing global work, understanding what that is, and it's wonderful. But I haven't slept in 8 years.
Well, that's definitely not good. But I do want to take the positive out of this, and the fact that you're really inspired by your work. I would definitely say here on the record that sleep is extremely important, and I really hope that you will think about that more seriously. I was just, listening to your career path and how you've struggled sometimes to really prove yourself and just move on to the next level. I wanted to ask you, what was the most challenging situation or sort of like type of situation that you had to go through? And for those listening, how do you approach difficult situations? What do you recommend people who go through difficult situations in the creative industry? How do you recommend them to approach it?
It's a hard question because I think everybody has their own way of conducting their life. So I cannot be an example for anybody but for people who are wired like me. I think now we're at the intersection of many worlds and many generations and many approaches to life. And some people just want peace of mind, working just a few hours a day and focusing on some other stuff. So if they find it hard to approach this advertising life that I am living now, they should follow their own instincts or needs and look for something that is more towards that way. For people who really want, who feel this kind of unsettled need to prove themselves and work and generate a lot of work and, I don't know, have an ambition that is unmatchable, and then I would if they're having a hard time, then I suggest to identify the opportunities and take advantage of those by working more and more and more. So opportunities might look like changing an agency or changing a client in the agency or changing a country or working more on something that is unnoticed in the agency. So for example, a client might not have a lot of money but have a lot of potential, and nobody pays attention to it because the money issue, because we forgot that you can do something good with that client, because I don't know. Yeah, so it's really cool if you can identify a client that has potential and you just do good creative work on it, and that would make you be super noticed, and the client being super noticed, and that can skyrocket you. So that's one opportunity. But again, there's many kind of opportunities, and you just need to pay attention to them and be willing to work for them. Or going back to my first point, not if you struggle in another way, which is I don't want to work that much, it's not for me, then follow that. But you need to kind of know what you're dealing with inside and then respond to that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that there is any change in terms of work-life balance in the creative industry that you see coming? And I'm obviously focusing on this on purpose, also because it's an important topic that is being discussed, and I think there are many industries that speak up about taking care of people. And I'm curious, what do you think about the industry overall? Because it is obviously an impact, not an impact, but a network of people that really feel connected to this purpose. And my question is, do you think this can change in the future in a way where well-being is also more accepted or more shared within the industry?
Absolutely. I see it all over me, on groups on Facebook, on groups of agencies or holding companies. Everybody talks about it. It's clearly a move towards it, or several steps towards it. I think everybody wants it. It's just sometimes hard to click into it because you have so many subjective factors into it. It's, as I was saying at the beginning, is not a 9-to-5 job. It's more of a drive job. So then what you do is you put some targets, you put some limits, you put some space, but then you just need to do the extra work to get where you want to be, not where it's comfortable to be. It is hard, but it's moving towards that way, and I see it all the time. So I think it's gonna be good, because nobody wants to have people that are unhappy in the industry. We all want to be happy one way or another.
Definitely. Well, that was really great to hear from you as well, because I linked to that, you said that you shifted also work culture and the way you saw the industry when you moved abroad to London and then again to Milan. And I was wondering if you learn, what did you learn about, navigating the ad world and working in different cultural settings? What were some key differences that you've noticed once you changed the setup? Are there more important factors to consider if you want to change career and also countries where you live?
Every country is super different in the approach and in how meetings are conducted, how clients are approached, how work is going on. But I think it each has its charm, and you just need to know how to take the best out of everything and how to how to make your ice cream cone very colorful and flavorous. So what I learned from Romania is grit and not getting to understand a no from somebody. Just push and push and push and get more and try more and just do more. What I got from London was diplomacy, because the grit and the not taking a no from Romania made me like very like a bull in a china shop. You just go and try your best and you're loud and you try and you try. Whilst in London they have these social filters of communication, and you just need to understand how they talk and then try to follow their lead. So I tried, and I got a bit of diplomacy from that corner of the world. And then in Italy, I don't know, I learned a lot of things. I don't even know how to squeeze one of it, but mainly is to push the boundaries of creativeness more and more and more, and going the extra 500 miles to get to a great place rather than settle into a good place. So yeah, that's it. But you just need to find your own and make that bouquet.
What advice do you have for those who listen and want to follow in your path? You obviously said it's a personal journey, but what would you say it's kind of an overarching theme of your career path that you really want to share with others as advice?
Yeah, because it's very personal. It's hard to answer, and it's a very good question. What I think defines me very well, it's ambition and the need to win. It sounds a bit horrible, but I realized recently that I just want to win in general in life. So I'm doing every possible thing to get there. And even if I don't check all the boxes of winning all the time, my main drive is to be better and win this and get there and get there and get there. So I have a lot of ambition and drive towards that ambition. And I think that as long as you kind of see the end goal of something, you will push towards it and then have another end goal and then another one and just go towards it more and more and more. That's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks for covering it, because, the winning mindset is also part of our general Western working culture. And it's also something that really drives people to just be better. Like you said, it's extremely important to have an end goal and to strive for something. So yeah, of course, thanks for covering that as well. For everybody listening, if you want to work in the creative industry, you need to have the winning mentality, or at least to find a place that really fits your style, as you said, because it depends on the setup that you're in. What did you wish you knew at the beginning of your career, looking back as a reflection? One thing that you said, okay, if I knew this 10 years ago, maybe it would have had an impact on me.
Maybe it's something that I tell the juniors all the time. So I don't remember if I knew it very well when I was starting, is that nobody will judge you for being too outgoing and having crazy ideas. Everybody will judge you for not being active and not putting things on the table. So when you're a junior, when you're starting up, trying to put as many things out there as you can, and pushing to the craziness will help, and never will you be disconsidered for that. But not doing anything and being super passive will take you into disconsiderment and make people doubt about you.
Interesting. Okay, thanks for covering that. I think it's a very good piece of advice to understand also the context that you're in and a bit of what people expect from you once you're in the industry, to really push for ideas and always have something to come with at the table. Super nice. This was a great chat. I do want to sum up with something that it's my passion and yours as well. Lady Steps. It's a speech you delivered called Lady Steps, What's the Deal with Gender Equality? What is this presentation about? And, what do you cover when you talk about gender equality in the creative industry?
Basically, Lady Steps was a program I did back in Romania with one of my friends and industry colleague called Simona Suman. And we started this gender equality project for the creative industries because we realized that mainly the speakers for the creative industry are men. And we started this Lady Steps program where we only invited women speakers to talk about their career path, so that the younger generations see that you can reach a certain level of management and what are the struggles on the way. So we did these conferences with ADC Romania for a while, and then I was invited to talk about that. So basically, the Lady Steps was the deal with gender equality, was more about why we started the program, what were the struggles we had on our way to management, why we thought it's needed in Romania, and what other things around them we can do. Because we were identifying several issues, like, for example, in management, when you're in junior middle management, the parity is 50-50. But the more you grow, the less women you find and the more men you find. And you get to senior management, like CEOs, and it's 98% men and 2% women, because you lose drive and you lose occasions and you lose promotions on the fact that you are a woman. And we invite girls to talk about that and how they overcame that and how they didn't and what was going on in there. There's a lot of nuances to gender equality and how we got to this imbalanced society. And there's many ways of trying to fix that. A lot of it, it's also, not a lot of it, most of it is also connected to childbirth and the fact that you go into maternity leave and then you also have to take care of the baby, not only delivering it, and you lose a lot of opportunities there. There's so many things I cannot even start to cover in this 2-minute answer, and we need another 2 hours to talk about it all, or to invite the wonderful speakers we invited before and they can tell their share. But yeah, I'm a firm believer that women need to be given more chances and to get an extra push right now, because they were severely disconsidered before, and they need those chances.
Fantastic. And on that note, Sandra, thank you so much for taking the time. I think you've shared in a good 40 minutes some very, very nice pieces of advice. You've also shared your struggles in getting to the place that you're in. You've had an amazing accomplishment throughout your career, amazing accomplishment. So congratulations on that. It's not easy working in the creative industry, but I'm really excited for the future and excited to see the projects that you are now delivering. As a PS, can you tell us what's your favorite campaign that you've ever worked on?
Oh my God. You're making me choose between my babies. I think, I don't know. Let me think a bit about it. I think I have favorites based on occasions or based on themes. So I love because we were talking about gender equality, I love Bittersweet Pies for Paul that we did back in Romania, and it's treating gender inequality and promoting some stats and making them visible to the world. And then I love Diesel Be a Follower because it challenges all this following mentality and influencer mentality and what's going on in the world with that. But I also love my Heineken ads because they're another way of approaching the world and giving a twist to situations. So it's very hard because based on it's exactly like you have kids and one plays football, one is a great piano player, and one is a rebel. Is like I love them all for doing their thing, you know. So I love my clients and I love my campaign. So it's hard to pick one.
Fair enough, Sandra. I won't make you choose one, but thanks a lot for joining us and also for sharing your insights.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you all for listening, and stay tuned for more updates from female role models. I hope you felt inspired to take charge of your next career move. Remember to review this podcast and share your comments. Thank you.